voice.
All right. Namaste. Welcome to Pranayam with Shiv. I'm Shiv. I've got an amazing episode for you today, guys. I'm here with Charlotte, speaking confidence. She helps people. Well, she works with a lot of clients, isn't it? To help them express themselves authentically, to find their voice.
Yeah.
How are you doing, firstly?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm really, really excited to be here.
Awesome.
I love talking about this stuff. I can't wait to get into it.
Awesome. Yeah. If you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about your background? How you got into this?
Sure. So I come from a background from theatre, actually, as a theatre director. I always loved performing, but it always felt like it fell kind of short. And once I went to uni, I started directing, and I absolutely fell in love with it. So I loved seeing where people's limitations, their freedoms, their excitement, their passions were coming together, and I could find some harmony with everyone and bring a text to life. Then I went to university, and I did that and absolutely loved it. But then I took that to my master's level. So I went to Birkbeck, which is a directing master's, and I was one of 7 people on that course. So I didn't really realise how competitive it was until I got in. And then, strangely, I realised that I was the only woman on that course. So it was me and seven guys, sorry. So I was one of 8. And it was there that I began really struggling with my own speaking confidence. So around 80% of our academic scoring was gained through presentations. And before this point, I was the guy who won it every time, presentations, whatever. And I was noticing that I was doing some really weird stuff, like lunging as I spoke. And I knew what I wanted to say. I so desperately wanted to be articulate and confident. But when I got up there in front of other people, I just froze and started saying lots of filler words, like, which I'll say now, but they became really dominant in my mind. And my confidence just absolutely shrunk. So I qualified as a theatre director. I worked as a theatre director, but what I noticed was there was a limit to that. I was, self-imposed limit. And every time I was going for a work opportunity or a job or putting myself out there, I would have this huge imposter syndrome. I'd have this enormous fear that I couldn't do it because of that learning of getting up in front of my peers and thinking I'm failing because I can't express myself. So after a number of years and feeling really dissatisfied with where I was, I pulled myself out of that pit, if you like. So in narrative, we'd call it man in a hole, where the man falls in the hole and he gets himself back out again. And that's what happened to me. I fell in a hole and stayed there for a long time. But luckily, through things like yoga, meditation, using all the things that I would use with performers to help their confidence, I pulled myself out of that hole. And I started to wonder if anyone else would benefit. And turns out they did. It's very much a universal problem. And I absolutely love it now that I can help people to do this, to get on camera, to share their voice, to free their voice. And I've never looked back. I really love it.
Yeah. Like when you say like helping people free their voice, I guess the question that comes to my mind is like, what's keeping us in bondage? Like, what's stopping us from having our voice?
Do you know, it's so many different things, but I do think that the enemy numero uno is ourselves. I don't know if you've ever watched Stranger Things.
I've never seen it.
Oh, you've never? Okay.
No.
So there's this character called Vecna in it, and I hope I'm not spoiling this for anyone. There's this character called Vecna, and in some of the episodes, he appears to people and he kind of hypnotizes them, and he appears as the people that they love the most. And he says things like, "You're nothing. I hate you. We've had this relationship, but I really deep down think you're pond scum, for argument's sake." And they look at those people with such fear, at that vision with such fear, and think, this is my worst nightmare. Now, I watched that episode and got really emotional because I thought this is exactly what we do to ourselves. We conjure our own vecnas. The worst perceptions are made up by us. We think that if I start that business, the person from school who hated me is going to comment and watch my stories and think, what an idiot. Or we think we're going to let people down, or we think we're going to be seen as arrogant. And so all of these visions stop us. And that's just the body and the brain's way of protecting us, I think. But I think all of that makes for this kind of devil's snare, as it is in Harry Potter. Yeah. And the more we kind of struggle and fight against it, the worse it gets, I think, until we validate it and see it. And in Stranger Things, that was the thing that kind of overcomes Vecna, when the person turned around and said, I'm not afraid of you. And I think that's what we need to do in this work, is turn around, see all those challenges, those fears, and say, I'm not afraid of you. You haven't got a bond over me any longer.
I mean, you mentioned that it was like maybe it's a protective mechanism. How did that start? What's it protecting us from? I don't understand that.
I think there's lots of different things. I think it's protecting us from the things that we felt when we were children that maybe were out of our control.
Like people pleasing and stuff like that.
Well, like shame. Like if we think about the first time we ever recognized or felt shame as a child, it's such a teaching mechanism of how to live in the tribe, how to live in community. But if that was a really big feeling, and then we thought, my goodness, essentially, and I'm not a psychologist, but this is what I've heard from lots of kind of research, that moment makes us feel like we're going to die. And we do everything in our power to not feel like that again. So it is a safety mechanism in a sense of, we think we're going to die, and so we avoid it. People pleasing is a really good way of always avoiding it. I'll never feel shame if everyone else is happy. But of course you self-sacrifice then. And that's when, I was finding that I was people pleasing, that I was putting other people first, and I came last. So I was so miserable. And although I was surviving, I was miserable. So I wasn't encountering shame or judgment. And everyone maybe said like, oh, Charlotte, she's such a nice person. But I wasn't living for my own dreams. I was just kind of, life was happening to me, not for me. And that's where I think people have that great sense of dissatisfaction and they want to change. They want something to move,
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate with that. It's kind of like we get to this stage where there's like gremlins inside of us, right? What are some of these telltale signs? How does it manifest in people?
That's actually, do you know what? I did a post about this the other day about saying that's actually a really good question and meaning it. I do really mean it. I think that so there's the telltale signs, right? The telltale signs, for me, they came really early on. So I was in my teenage years. And I realized that my gut, there'd be this feeling of kind of, I was unnerved. It was that ooh sort of feeling in my gut whenever I said something that I didn't believe. Or whenever I held myself back. Or a good example is if I was in class and I wanted to put my hand up, but I felt silly asking that silly question. When I put my hand down and someone else asked the question, I felt my gut. And it almost was like this little voice going, see? So that for me is a telltale sign. I think the other telltale sign is how your world is responding to you. Now, there are so many things that are down to circumstance and where we end up geographically, our sex, our race, our gender, whatever, that have a really big impact, I think. So I'm not going to say that none of those have an impact. But you will kind of see, I think, how people start treating you when you feel like you're not giving in to those mechanisms of people pleasing. Suddenly, people don't abuse your time. Suddenly, they hear your no's when you say no with a full stop. I did a workshop a little while ago, and where was it? In a big retreat, and it was called The Pleasure of Saying No. And I didn't realize it was going to be so profound, because I love teaching people how to say no and really mean it so that people can hear. Now, I started off talking about a little bit of research that Gabor Mate had done around the immune system and people pleasing or not setting firm boundaries. And apparently your immune system will mirror how you set boundaries. So if you're not very good at setting boundaries, if you let people, yeah, absolutely, I'll walk all over you, or you say, oh, I haven't really got time for that, but yeah, I'll do it and I'll sacrifice my own sleep, your immune system will mirror that.
Wow.
So any enemies to your immune system will go, well, they did it on the outside, why don't do it on the inside?
Oh, wow.
Now, when I talked about that research, there were a couple of hands that went up, and it absolutely astonished me, because people were saying, I've had breast cancer, I've had fibromyalgia, I have an immune disorder. And they all said it was due to the way they spoke. And they said, since changing the way I speak, the way I assert boundaries, I feel like a different person. And I just thought, this is crazy. This is totally tied in together somehow. So I think that's another telltale sign as well. If something's going on physiologically,
Oh, wow, yeah.
in your environment, and also, yeah, with your gut, that sort of felt sense that something's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think to myself, and, you know, there's times where maybe I should have said something,
Yeah.
and I didn't for whatever reason. Maybe sometimes like an arrogance. Sometimes, you know, like I feel, oh no, I'm too. I mean, yeah.
I'm too big for this conversation.
Yeah. You know, but it's actually, you know, it's not good. It's not good at all. Yeah.
So you feel like you hold yourself back because, is that about your audience maybe? Like, oh, this isn't the right place to say this, or these aren't the right people?
Question. Yeah, I think it's, you know, there's different things throughout my life that I can see I've played in myself. You know, like sometimes it's just purely, maybe there's a feeling of like anxiety. You know, like say you're with a group of people, and you know you want to actually get involved, and you're like, no. And then maybe the arrogance is kind of like an excuse out of it, like, no. You know, I didn't need that anyway. You know what I mean? It's all good.
I love that. Do you know what? I think that really comes when we're faced with change, and we have a choice of who we want to be in that moment. And a lot of the time we maybe want to save face, or again, survive that shame. Because one of the outcomes could be that people laugh. We feel ostracized. We feel that mini death. But there's a lot of good teachers out there. There will, hopefully, as we grow into, you know, more of the later chapters in our years, we surround ourselves with people who take those risks and influence us positively. My partner is a really good example of that. He'll always ask the kind of silly question, and I watch and sometimes, you know, go, oh, aren't you embarrassed? But then I think, well, no, because it's now really clear. And now I feel like I've had my question answered. So now I just ask the silly questions. So he's inspired me to do that.
That's good. Great. That's amazing. You know, I saw on your social media, you had a post about Cringe.
Oh, yeah. What was I talking about?
Well, you know, it's a good one, isn't it? Because I think we all experience, it's embarrassing, but all of us experience cringe at some point, you know, and you might be laying there at night and you'll think back to something you did, and then it's like physical, like,
exactly. Oh, it's so physiological,
But it felt very liberating what you're saying, you know, kind of like almost accepting that, being in acceptance of cringe, putting yourself out there. And I don't know if you could speak on.
Well, do you know, that immediately has made me think of a story. So when I first started putting my feelers out into this world, I did a Instagram post, and I wish I still had it, but I deleted it a while ago, I think. And it was when I very first started, and I had this beautiful setup, and there was plants in the background, and I was in the garden, and I was in this like vintage kimono that I got from Kyoto all these years ago, and my hair was beautifully curled and makeup and blah, blah, blah. And I remember that was exhausting.
Yeah.
It was so exhausting. And I thought, I've just got to come across this certain way, you know, because I've got to help people. And, you know, I look back at that now and that makes me feel cringy. But then when I think about who I really am and how other people see me, they always reference, I don't know if you've seen the film, The Holiday, the Christmassy film. They always reference Cameron Diaz when she's like making faces at the dog. So she's like, and they're like, oh, that always reminds me of you. And I thought, well, do you know what? This is exhausting, trying to uphold this calm, you know, exterior. And I am actually quite playful and expressive. And all of my heroes growing up were Jim Carrey and Robin Williams. Like, they were the clowns. So why not play with that? And ever since then, it's just felt so liberating. Because I don't think, what's funny is the algorithm has kind of rewarded me. The uglier or the more expressive I've been, the algorithm is like, people love this. So I'm kind of like, well, that's who I am.
It's more true. It's funny, isn't it? I think like our kind of egoic thinking mind, it often like makes things so serious that needn't be, and it's quite funny actually.
It's really funny, and the ego hates being laughed at like that. Woo, you got so wound up about that. You know? When you really, it's like, stop it. And what's funny is, I don't know if you ever do this, like talk to your ego, but it starts really mimicking a child. If you kind of look back, it's like a paper tiger, right? You look at it and it's really like, oh, it has like a little strop, and it exposes itself quite quickly. So then you think, well, you're not calling the show. You're not going to be driving the car. I want to, you know, get from a more elevated perspective. And then it hides in different places, but we won't go into that.
I wanted to actually read something to you. It's from it's a website I found called 7chakras.com.
Oh, I love it.
Right, but it's about, because this video for me is about like the throat chakra. You know, I know it's like sounds very kind of esoteric, and in a way it is, but you know, it's yoga is very practical as well.
Yes, it's a science.
It's a science. That's right. So look here, it says Vishuddha. That's the name of the throat chakra. It's composed of two Sanskrit words, V meaning especially or intensely, Shuddha meaning pure or clean. So especially pure or intensely pure, intensely clean, especially clean. So I feel like that's giving us a hint of how our human system is meant to feel. In our communication, it's meant to feel absolutely just intense, bright, pure. We're meant to give this vibration in our life.
Absolutely.
And it goes on to say, so it says, if the throat chakra is unbalanced or dysfunctional, it may manifest as a fear of speaking out, social anxiety, or difficulty in expressing thoughts clearly. I thought that was interesting. Like, there's a disconnect between what's going on in here and what comes out. In today's fast-paced world, finding one's voice and speaking one's truth is crucial for genuine connections and emotional health. I think we can all agree on that. When balanced, this chakra fosters open and truthful interactions, allowing ideas and emotions to flow freely. It supports creative expression, active listening, and alignment between thoughts and actions. I just thought that was interesting, just to throw that in there.
It's so interesting, and I'm nodding and agreeing along, because every single client that has come to me describes those symptoms. Every single one, in some way, shape, form. And they must think I'm a bit crazy, because I know what they're going to say. And I know that for so many, this feels woo. It's not, it's a science. And it was so nice actually to know the theme of your podcast and kind of dig out some of my old books. Some of them are in a real state. But that really aligns with what I hear from people. So something that I hear a lot from people is, it feels like something's stuck in my throat, or it feels like it's being restricted or tightened or blocked. And I think that really, they're describing it so beautifully. And there's some freedom in knowing some of this world, I think. Now, the analogy that I give them is that it feels like, for me, obviously we've got the lower chakras that funnel to the throat chakra. And that to me always feels like a hose. And sometimes if we step on a hose and yet the flow is still coming, it feels like there's a build-up. And it can get
that's
right?
so funny. So that's like when if you're a bit nervous and you go blah, 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 and you're coming out. Is that what that is? It's like
or that, yeah. So either we get blocked and it's like, or it's just
yeah.
And I think there's something to be said around overactive chakras as well.
Right.
That it's the wheel is like spinning and spinning, and that's where I think we over talk and over explain, and we have filler words and we're afraid of pause. And it's so funny, isn't it, that it's the chakra just above the heart.
Yeah.
And I think we can have a real feeling of connection with the heart when it comes to our voice. And a lot of the sessions that I have, it's not therapy, it's therapeutic. But I think almost every client has got emotional in a session when they're saying something that is on their heart.
Yeah.
And they finally connect with something there. But yeah, I think I love the hose analogy. Either we're stepping on it or restricting it, or there's something blocking it.
Yeah.
Or it's just this tap that keeps going, or there's not really much fuel. There's not water flowing through.
Okay.
And so, if you're a therapist and you're so used to listening, sometimes that flow can feel just underactive because you've learned to bite your tongue, to hold your voice, to listen to someone else. And so playing with your voice, I think, is the best way forward, making a bond with your voice. There's actually, I was looking in this book, and I'm not a Kundalini teacher, but I really love this book, The 8 Human Talents by Gurmukha. And I found this quote, one of the greatest ways to tap into the truth of who you really are is to begin working with and loving your own human voice. And I think that's the key to it, is loving it. I think so often we drag it around like a tool and we expect, come on, you work for me like a slave. And it's very good at showing us what's going on the inside. So if we lose our voice, if we find that it gets a bit croaky, or it's feeling tired or strained, they're clues, such clues. And I think the key is loving it.
That's really amazing.
It's such a beautiful book, there's so many good quotes.
I want to go into what you're saying here. Like obviously I think all of us had the experience of, you listen back to your voice and like, what the hell? I sound like that.
Yeah, and it's hard to love it like that.
Oh yeah. I've definitely experienced that.
Well, you're editing this and you're like, who is this guy?
Yeah, I'm going to lower the decibel, the tone, so it's a bit deeper. No. But yeah, so is that what you're talking about? Like when we hear back our voice, for instance, and then like growing to like love it. Is that what you're kind of saying?
That can be one way, absolutely. Yeah. Now, what's so interesting about the way we hear our voice, and this was introduced to me by Nick Redman, who's actually my vocal coach. She said that obviously we hear our voice when we speak it through bone conducted hearing, as well as the external through the ear canal. So when we make sound, obviously it's coming out through these vibrations here, and it's doing something to the bones and the muscles in our face. So that resonance, the mask resonance. But then we'll hear it through here too. So the brain makes a balance of those two sounds and gives us our perception of our voice. Now, when we're on recording, it's totally different because there's no bone conducted hearing. So it sounds like we're an imposter and we jolt. And because the voice is such a personal thing to us, we carry it around, we make the sound, we have ownership over it. When we hear it back, it sounds like an alien. And we really don't like. It's almost like we've been lied to. It's a funny sensation. So that's where we kind of make an enemy of our voice in that way. I mean, recording is only something like 170 years old, so it's quite new to hear our voices back as well. So that's a couple of reasons why we don't love it. And that is something that we can do, is listen to our voice. The more you listen to your recordings, now I'm at the point where I don't hear a difference, because the brain has made that a less of a shocking surprise, because it's more familiar to me. So if I watch myself back, I'm not really thinking about the sound of my voice. I don't go, ugh, cringe. Because again, cringe is like a survival mechanism. It's like, oh, don't put ourselves out there. Well, you know, I sound different to how I thought, so therefore I don't have so much control as I thought. You know, it's all those sorts of things. Like, that sounds different. I thought I was in control. But the more you do it, the more it sounds natural. It sounds normal. I used to really cringe at my voice, and now I don't care. But that's taken hundreds of hours of listening.
How do we like fall in love with our voice and stay in love with our voice? Is it possible?
I think it's not only possible, it's absolutely essential, because just like our bodies, if we don't fall in love with this vessel that we have been gifted, it will rebel. It will tell us where we're going wrong. So for me, I had burnout earlier in the year. I think I've been having cycles of burnout since I was like 17 years old, and not really knowing what it was. But the thing that stopped me in my tracks was losing my voice. And I'd never lost my voice. So I was like, hang on, there's a lot of pain happening with my voice. I'm losing it. Something like this would exhaust me. And I thought, that's not right. So for me, that was my voice being a friend. So I had to give that love back before it would come out and bless me with being on show again. I think it does a lot for us. So yeah, having that relationship is really useful. Now, practically, what does that look like? Drinking lots of water, having good sleep, resting, keeping your diet as nutritional as you can. Remember that fruit and veg has water content as well. But things like vocal rest, speaking, singing, playing with your voice. So a lot of the times that we use our voice is for other people. And that's what I was noticing, is like, wow, I'm using this amazing tool just for other people. And I'm not taking it, finding areas to play with it in my own right, like singing or like making a goofy sound, you know, like.
I think because, you know, we've got the phrase, haven't we? I don't know if it's just in English language, but, you know, like the first sign of madness is talking to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it? I don't know if that's just an English thing.
That is so true, yeah.
But it's like, I don't know, because I think that's also psychologically there for me. You know, like if you're spending a long time alone, you know, it's good to probably talk to yourself a little bit.
Isn't that amazing? It's kind of, you know, I saw a guy, I can't remember his name, go on like a dark retreat. And yes, he was filming for lots of it, so he was talking to the camera, but he said, I've just been talking to myself. And, you know, and so, because I think we're social beings, so if we're left alone, we have to almost imagine there's someone else here. But I think one of the big, profound moments that a lot of my clients have is when they talk to themselves and they think, oh, I'm actually going to put myself in a scenario. So I call it babbling. I get them to do babbles, and they can send them to me if they want, but often they just do it in their car when they're driving to work or picking up the kids or whatever. And I'll say, look, if you're wanting that opportunity to speak on a podcast or YouTube channel or a job interview, practice speaking about it out loud. So imagine that you are in the room and you go, hi, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. Because also the body doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So it's a kind of different way of doing your affirmations, but much more in the world of role play. So I think what's wild is that when people start doing this, opportunities start to come their way. And I think there was something else in one of Patanjali's sutras. I have to have a little moment to find it. But it was something about when you speak your truth, the world responds. or if you are in satya, that's when, the world responds.
Yeah.
When a yogi is established in truthfulness, the results of their actions and words become their own. So for someone to be established in satya, truthfulness, their speech becomes potent, and whatever they say comes to fruition or becomes true. When it doesn't feel comfortable or goes against the grain, you become distanced from what it is you want. So even when we're babbling, that can be a really nice way of playing with your voice, being like, oh, what if, dreaming with your voice.
Yeah.
And the voice is normally a really good indicator. It will feel difficult, or it will feel exciting, or it'll feel new and then exciting. So it's a kind of good temperature check to babble,
So
I think.
the babbling, how can people do it at home then?
Oh, just talk to yourself. So imagine that you're thinking, right, I've got 5 minutes or I've got 20 minutes driving to work. Rather than listening to a podcast or turning on the radio, think, what is something that I would love? What is something that my voice could take me towards ambition-wise? So maybe it's a job interview. And so or networking. Okay, I'd love to network and meet local like-minded business owners. So in the car then, you're thinking, oh, I might meet someone or talk to them or strike up a conversation. How might I do that? So you put yourself in the role play. So you go, hi, I'm Charlotte. I do this, this, this. And then you think to yourself, is that really how I want to say it? Oh, yeah, I guess I would change it like this. Oh, yeah, hi, I'm Charlotte. I do this and I love this. I'm looking for people, blah, blah, blah. See how that feels. You'll know by speaking it out loud whether it feels good or not, or just new. And that's quite like yoga, I think. When you first do the balances or you first do the postures, the asanas, you feel wobbly, or you feel like you have to gain some sort of balance, right?
Yeah.
That's the mission. By the end of the class, you might be slightly closer to that. Next time you come to class, you're slightly closer, So the babbling is that, I guess, vocal asanas for me. And it helps people just free the voice, because they're talking, they're practicing, they're playing.
Yeah. That's really, really cool.
And they can decide to record themselves, or you don't have to. You can just think, okay, tomorrow I'm going to talk about that again and see how I progress. But it's showing up. It's kind of coming to your mat for your voice.
It's funny you mentioned asanas as well. Like, I think people who practice yoga asanas, they know the connection of doing a posture and how it can change your whole mind, your spiritual feeling. When it comes to speaking, is there certain postures, is there like a postural kind of science that we should be aware of to help us, project ourselves more truthfully and to come into our power when we speak?
I think so. I'm not a vocal coach, but there's definitely things that you can do to warm up and free the voice a little bit. So the worst thing we can do for our voice really is being sat behind a desk. I mean, you're doing it now, stretching intuitively, right? Staying on one place. I'm doing it now, crossing our legs, sitting on one bottom cheek. Even things like making our voices small a lot of the time. So as soon as you pick up a phone, this is quite fascinating. You can talk and talk and talk. As soon as you pick up a phone, your breath measures how far away the phone is, because we treat this like another person. And your breath becomes more shallow, so your voice gets smaller. Now, if you're thinking you're doing that with a computer screen as well all day, and then you go to talk to a room full of people and you're thinking, why can't I?
You can't just turn it on.
Why can't I just turn it on?
Yeah.
That's because we've lost a little bit of that vocal stamina, I think. So there's things that you can do, like, shaking the body, releasing some tension, shoulder rolls. You can get into the hips, keep the knees nice and soft. You can even just have some intuitive stretching and lunging. You can pat the lungs. You can give yourself a little bit of a massage. That's where I think the body awareness is really useful. Do a bit of yoga. Yoga is brilliant. There's very big crossovers between yogic postures, breath work, and voice work. So things like child pose is amazing for, if you think about child pose, restricts the stomach and the chest. So you're naturally going to try and breathe into the lower ribs, the back ribs. So then you realize I've got all this space that I'm not using, and I'm normally voicing from up here. And that makes your breath, your voice lose power because you haven't, used all of the resources of your lungs. Your lungs are enormous. And if you're not using, all of their amazing power, the extreme of that is an opera singer, right? So in charge of their breath, can make a sound and whoa, floor us.
Yeah.
But also if we think about the freedom, that's in a baby. Babies get our attention with their cries.
Yeah.
They're so small, birds, so small, but they use their lungs really well. And there's all these sort of dysfunctions, sat at a desk wearing ill-fitting rucksacks, not hydrating. All of these things can just stack up throughout the day and make us kind of vocally unfit. It depends what your job is as well. Some of you don't need to do, huge extremes of this. It's just moving and making some NG sounds, like the end of sing. You could just say sing and just
Sing.
Yeah, nice. Now, interestingly, I was thinking about this. It's the same as ong in this book.
Yeah.
ONG. So it's kind of, there's a lot of crossovers between the traditional the traditional sciences, the ancient sciences, and what we're doing now. So here it says, it will sound as if you're singing through your nose, ong. You'll begin to feel a slight buzz in the area where the root of your nose and the back of the throat meet. Ong means infinity in its most creative form, and chanting this sound is very relaxing and uplifting.
Cool.
Now we do sing, the same thing. We're aware of the mask resonance, all of that, this tingling in the face, and we think, whoa, where's that noise come from? It's a really nice way of priming and warming up the voice. So there's so many crossovers.
That's really cool. We were talking earlier, when it comes to self-expression, and I think some people will probably be thinking this, some of the more skeptical people, because let's take you sometimes you get someone who is completely expressive, it seems, and it's like their voice booms, but it's like they've got no tact or social awareness, and maybe they make people feel uncomfortable.
Steamroller.
And and sometimes I was in Brussels the other day, and there was a guy, I think he was homeless, and he was being very rude, to some women, very ugly comments and stuff like that. But I could see he had full range of expression, compared to all of us. He was fully, in one way he's kind of liberated, his energy, but on the other side it's like there was no empathy for how other people were feeling. So how do we kind of balance this?
That is, I would say, the closest will to that work was introduced to me when I was 17 years old, and I spent time working with a coach called Patsy Rodenberg. She's got an amazing book called Presence, and it's all about the circles of attention and where you carry your circles of attention. So it sounds like you've got 1, 2, 3 circles of attention, okay? First circle is where your breathing's very shallow, you don't really make eye contact, or it's very much, this is my space just around me here. There's a de-energized breath. It's quite quiet, and maybe there's a little bit of over-explaining, over-talking, there's a lot of apology, maybe there's rounding in the shoulders, etc. And that's where I was. First circle. Now there's also the antithesis of this, which is third circle, which you described beautifully. So it's where you steamroller, it's almost like ill measuring your breath to the next person. It's blowing past them. It's used a lot in political rhetoric to assert an appearance of power. Hitler was very good at it. And it's very striking when someone does it, because it immediately gets your attention, doesn't it? Like that guy on the street had everyone's attention.
Yeah.
But I can't rationalize with them. They're not meeting me on this level.
Yeah.
In the middle is second circle. So that's where your body is present. You're balanced on 2 feet. Your knees are soft. You're measuring from your mouth to the next person. Obama was really good at this. Made everyone feel like he was his friend. Measuring who's in the room, connecting with people via eye contact. There's a effortlessness to their voice, and they tend to be the very charismatic leaders or people that you meet and you think, I really want to connect with them. Whereas if someone is a bit more withdrawn, we often associate that with something like we shouldn't trust. So rather than seeing it as their shyness, we go, oh, I don't know if I should trust them, because they're not confident in themselves. Yeah. So that book is incredible. And I think that's one of the best things you can work on, is thinking about, where am I in my presence, in my circle? There's lots of things online as well that you can look at with that. But that's breath, body, movement, voice, how we hold ourselves, all of those sorts of things. And certain things can knock us in and out of presence. So let's say if you go to the gym and weightlift, we become very present. We become very connected to the task. So we probably come out of the gym feeling like we can talk to anyone. Whereas if we're stuck at a desk all day and we're hi so-and-so, yeah, okay, blah, 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 we're stuck in first circle. So then when we go to the shops, we want to plug our headphones in. We want to keep that energy. And the same with if you're homeless on the street, it's very, what's the word? It's very key to assert, I am a predator, not prey. Yeah. And third circle can be a good way of doing that.
I see. Yeah, that's amazing. That's a really cool way of seeing it.
You probably see that in a yoga class, actually. You probably see people transition. Yeah. Either they come in with loads of energy and hi, and they're kind of misaligning the tone of the room. And then by the end there. It's like, it balances either way, from either side. Absolutely. Yeah. So I think there's a chakra link there as well, and an energy link for sure. Yeah.
So, I don't know. Could we do some practical? Is there any practical things we can do if someone wants to they want to get into the second circle?
Get into second circle.
But we've got anxiety. We got public speaking engagements, and we hate. The thought is terrifying. Like, is there something? Can you guide us a little bit?
Yeah. So what I would suggest. So I can do this vocally, so that you can do this at home, but. You can, or shall I stand up and show?
I stand up? Yeah, we could stand up. I think it'd be more.
If I just take off. Right. The first thing that I would suggest to do is take off shoes, which I'm sure you love as a yogi already.
Well, Indian as well.
And an Indian, exactly. Keep the Asian household. So pop your shoes off and just walk around the space. So start to notice what starts to happen. Maybe you're moving in patterns. Maybe you're feeling that your heels are heavy. Maybe you're feeling that you're starting to articulate your toes. Maybe the pace is slow or fast. And then you can start bringing that awareness to your breath. So already what I'm noticing in my body is I'm a little bit quicker. I'm heavier on my heels. I'm kind of walking in this back and forth. My breath is okay, it's quite free. But there feels like there's a little bit of front foot energy, which aligns with what we've been doing, because we've been talking, giving value, whatever. But if you've come out of working at your desk for the day, maybe you're noticing that you're de-energized. And you're looking at the floor a lot more. And the breath is a little bit harder to get, and it's shallow, or you find yourself going, I can't be bothered. Or you have had 10 cups of coffee today, you've been to the gym, been for a run, you're like, okay, let's storm around the room, amazing, I'm ready to go. and you feel like there's loads of that energy. So the first step is just observing. Where am I at? It's not about judging. But then the next thing I would say is come to a full standing stop. Take your feet hip width distance apart so you can swivel one foot, or it's basically two fists together between your feet. So you're a little bit wider, just underneath your hip bones. And then just soften the knees and start to scrunch the feet in the floor. And you can move forwards or backwards on your toes or on your heels, or kind of make little circles of balance, seeing where is the midpoint. And I'm sort of rushing through this a little bit just so that you get a first feel for this, because the first time I did this, we were here for like an hour. And it was an eye-opener, and you can go the other way with those circles. And you can either, you can even get into the knees and just start to make little circles with those, or big ones. And then just take that, keep that softness, but come into the butt and just think, am I releasing the bottom? Am I releasing? Because sometimes we just clench, hold a lot of energy there. And then you can even get into the pelvis, so you can tip your pelvis forwards and backwards as if it's got some water in a bucket, and it's coming out the front and it's pouring out the back, out the front. And again, we're going slow and steady with this. We're not thinking, we're not wrenching the body, we're having respect for it. And we could even take the kind of Shakira hips, the hips don't lie, hips lovely. Don't lie. And back the other way. And already you might just start to feel a shift in your breath connection. Suddenly it becomes deeper, more open. And then you can start to think about your shoulders. So you can roll your shoulders forwards and backwards. You can even bring your hands to your shoulders and just make little circles. Again, this is very what we would do in yoga, potentially, backwards and forwards. And then get into the neck. So just very slowly tuck the chin. And just make that sort of half moon shape up towards the right, over to the left, maybe back again. And just start to notice what's here in each of these spaces. Is there tension? Is there a part that I need to come back to? Do I need to spend a bit longer somewhere? And then just come back to center, lift your head, stack it up, vertebra by vertebra. And imagine from here that you're like Pinocchio. So you've got a string that's carrying you throughout the whole of your spine, your body, and you can kind of make that string very slack, or you can make it very taut, and suddenly you just kind of open up. And what's funny actually doing that is, for me, the heart space opens. So as someone who was made to feel, I'm the odd one out for being tall, that's normally happening, the rolling of the shoulders. When I actually lift, and it's not about forcing height, it's just about that little touch taller. You're keeping the knees soft, shoulders are rolled down, and you're just seeing how that feels. Now that is a very second circle position, and what you'll notice is that your eyes are looking maybe higher than they have before. Typically when we walk through the street, we might look at the floor. It's keeping a note of all of these sorts of things. So I would say keep a diary of your observations. You can do this actually through photos of yourself. So you could get a load of old photos, family photos, ones where we're less selfie. You can see the whole of our body. Do you notice that you're cocking your head to one side, you're trying to hide in the picture, or do you notice I'm main character energy, I'm taking up all of the frame? Or is it quite balanced? Does it feel like, oh, I'm quite present in the moment, I'm having a good time? Those can be nice indicators. Or you can take the temperature check of your voice. So if we were to just make let's use the sing sound. If you sent the sing sound now, so we just go sing, and we just send it, imagine that it's got a thread and it's taking it across the whole of the other side of the space and hitting somewhere on that wall, and just see if you can hold it for a little bit, okay? Or observe how long you can hold it. Don't push, but just see, observe. In that position, sing.
Sing.
Soft knees. Release your hands. Think about that string. That's it. Now, for you, clench your bottom as hard as you can, right? And you might find that because your hips are pushing forwards a little bit, it might just stack you over, as if you're going to do a, what are these called?
Like a deadlift.
Deadlift.
Yeah.
As if you're going to do a deadlift, okay? So there's that feeling. You might need your feet ever so slightly. Yeah, so we're feeling that sort of like strong bottom, soft top. That's it. Now take in the breath, nice and easy.
Like that?
Yeah.
Sing.
That's it. Lovely. Soft knees, a little bit more. That's it. Just touch. Nice. So once you've done that a couple of times, okay, you can just see, is that difficult? Is that easy? Is there some sort of challenge with this? And so you can just get curious. For me, I've done this for years.
Yeah.
So I can just think, okay, where do I need this to come from? Is it easy, challenging? Sing. So I've got a voice also from working in education, where I can go, right, that's enough.
Tell off the kids.
Yeah, exactly. But there might be something that you're thinking, oh, actually, I typically am quite quiet.
Yeah.
Or I typically use a smaller voice, which in yoga, often we do. We use, okay, everyone settle down. But then I would say maybe if you're playing the keys of the piano down here all the time, but you have the whole piano, how can you make time and opportunity to play the other notes? Like that might exist in a warm-up or whatever. So that's just stacking yourself in second position, then playing with your voice and just observing it. Hope that's useful.
That's cool. I'm feeling a little like my throat is a little tight or something.
Yeah.
I noticed it when I was doing that.
So you might have, what's your morning been like?
It's been good.
Has it been quiet?
It's been quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it might just be that it's quiet. I've been on Zoom all day.
Right.
I was up really early. I have had coffee, like all of these things. So kind of keeping a vocal diary for yourself could be a brilliant thing to do, because it's like, actually, what impact does it have for me having a quiet morning?
So what would you put in the vocal? What would you put in the vocal diary?
Oh, so you could do something like observations. So morning, afternoon, evening. And you can think about, okay, what was my voice like in the morning? Did I use it much in the morning?
Yeah.
Did I use it much in the afternoon? When I tried to do that exercise with Charlotte, I noticed there was a little bit of tightness. Could have been because I was just quiet in the morning.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't done a vocal warm-up or anything like that, why would your voice be big? Again, we're telling it what to do rather than inviting it. So I want you to think about your voice like a friend. If you spent no time with them and then you rung them up to complain about your day and say, I need your sympathy, they won't want to hang out with you very often. But if you ring them and say, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah.
I want to turn the attention on you. How are you today? Oh, we've been a bit quiet this morning. Okay. Wonder how that's affected us in the afternoon. So you build that relationship of awareness. It can also be very relaxing, this work.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling like, whoa, because we've just connected with our bodies, suddenly we're aware, like, oh, I've worked hard this morning, or, all of that can come up too. Fatigue, poor night's sleep, all of these things can impact the voice. So when we start listening to it, it can say, I've got a problem. I want you to rest me. I want you to give me water, etc.
I love how you say that. So it's like
Speaking of which, I'm going to grab some water.
It's like being friends with your voice, like you said.
I think it's like, sometimes I've found my voice and me like an old married couple that began to hate each other and were like, I suppose you're supposed to come with me on this trip, and now I want them to have their second honeymoon.
Yeah.
I want them to fall in love again.
That's awesome.
Which sounds funny, but now that I think of it like that, or I think about it how I would approach a horse. So horses, I would never run up to it and drag it and pull it by the reins. I would always meet it, connect, and then I would see what they're up for, whether they're up for a ride or not. It's the same with the voice, I feel. So I now meet my voice, go, hey, how you doing, buddy? Where are we at? I don't want to scare you. But if I suddenly was like, let's sing some Broadway musical out of nowhere, which we do in our cars, it would have something to say about that.
Yeah.
It would fight back.
That's so cool.
Oh.
Cool. So just to kind of finish this interview, maybe putting you on the spot here, but if we had to kind of distill your message, kind of like what you're transmitting to people through this work, you know, can we like distill it into something short, you know? Because what I'm getting is like, it's also so strongly is about, like, there's a self-love kind of, that is what it is, you know, and what your work is teaching people to like love themselves, so that they can be kind of free.
I think you've put it really perfectly. If you love yourself and love your voice, it will give you the most magical life ever.
I love that.
And that's exactly what it's done for me. And that's what I see it do for so many people. I walk into spaces now, like Ideas Fest or a networking or a dinner, and people approach me like a magnet. And it's not because I'm suddenly reading some book on how to manipulate people and make friends and whatever. It's just because I'm comfortable in my own skin and I am excited to connect with people. And I do think that on some energetic level that comes out. So yeah, it can change your life.
That's beautiful. That's an awesome way to end this.
Thanks, Shiv.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Hope you've had fun.
I hope you all enjoyed that. I certainly did. It was amazing. Charlotte Lewis, Charlotte Speaking Confidence. We'll put all the links for everything we discussed in the description.
Thank you, Shiv.
Thank you
Namaste.
again. Namaste. Namaste.